We welcome Kris Nekomata to the show. Hi.
Hi.
Hey, I appreciate
Nice to
you
be
coming
here.
on. I'm glad you're here. Please introduce yourself to everybody.
I'm Kris Nekomata.
I'm Eric
This is my
Loy, and welcome
normal
to
tagline
Eric
of,
Loy
I'm your
Interviews.
local two-tailed
On this
cat boy,
podcast, we talk with
here to
folks
bring
from
a
the
little
VTuber
extra
community
love, luck, and
on their
joy to
channels,
your everyday
their
life.
talents, their
And,
stories,
I
where they
like
come from,
streaming
and
playing
their
a
plans
variety
for
of
the future.
games, and I just recently began doing ASMR Tuesdays and Thursdays on my channel, which has been very interesting, but it's been rewarding at the
Oh,
same time.
well, yeah. I mean, come on, folks. I mean, listen to that voice. It's got to be. You got to do something like that because you got to use that instrument.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly what my chat was saying. In fact, they bullied me to one add things to my throne because I'm horrible at adding stuff to it. But I also they got me to add that 3DO mic, the microphone that actually has ears on it, and
Oh,
I never thought anyone would really invest into it, but a few of them did, and even my own mother,
oh.
decided to invest into it as well. And
Mm.
it was funny because before that happened, I was discussing with my with a social worker who, because I've been looking for work lately,
Hmm.
about what kind of jobs I can be doing. And the the ironic thing was, before I can really go further into depth of like everything I did for work or had been working on, she was going, "Have you ever considered streaming or being a podcast or doing ASMR?" I was just like, "Ma'am, you would be very surprised about what I do."
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly. I mean, it's just such a your voice has no sharp edges to it whatsoever, so it's perfect for that.
That's high praise coming from you, considering that you've worked in radio.
Well, just because I worked in radio doesn't mean I was any good at it.
Well, I would hope that you have the good, high quality ears. I mean,
Well, yeah,
to be able
yeah,
to like, tell that difference.
yeah, I can. Well, that's the thing. We've got one of the things that this medium has done, and I'm really happy for, is that we're hearing more people, different voices, different everything, different accents, different backgrounds. Everybody's getting their opportunity to shine a little bit and get an audience. And it's like little old radio stations in a way because you're going after an audience, and it's while you have a visual presentation, it's a lot to do with the voice, but it's also not like it because you're not competing against each other really. the
Hmm.
The audience is massive, and instead of a pie like you would in a local radio market, you've got a globe that you're cutting up. it's a it's a big difference there. The audience keeps growing, but I want to know, with all of this, why and when did you get started?
I got started near the tail end of my academic career,
Mm.
which I was in school for immunology. I was getting my master's in biology with the focus of molecular genetics and biochemistry. And I was originally hoping to continue doing my research in immunology because I was researching at the time the BCG vaccine, I believe it's called, the otherwise known as tuberculosis vaccine, and I was writing up a thesis to defend the thesis of why more research should go into vaccines and how they can be utilized to use them to cure and treat diseases like MS and type 1 diabetes
Hmm.
and other autoimmune diseases because vaccines themselves can be utilized to somewhat re-educate or help deter a very aggressive immune system, which is what autoimmune diseases are, is
Right,
the immune system attacking itself
right.
and not knowing that it shouldn't attack itself. But they discovered that vaccines like the BCG vaccine can not fully re-educate the immune system, but it can deter it and make it stop attacking the like pancreatic cells that
Mm.
can produce insulin, um, and can help people with like type 1 diabetes leave a more normal life with less insulin. But the problem was is that they were not getting enough funding or recognition from the scientific community at large to
Right.
invest even more money into it. And the biggest problem was is that this was during the absolute height of not only the VTuber boom, but the but COVID,
Right.
which which only upped the difficulty of defending my thesis because I not only did I have to defend the idea of using vaccines, I then had to go up against the very hot topic of were vaccines even safe,
Right.
which was fine because I'm always, as a scientist myself, um, always believing that we should revisit topics and research to make sure that the methods that we're treating people are actually safe.
Right.
Uh, so that's what I was doing during the time. But the reason that I got into VTubing was uh, I had uh, recently went through a. I feel like every person that goes into VTubing has like a somewhat like a sadder, like some sad story, or like they want to like really prove themselves.
Yeah.
But for me, um, not to like cover everyone, but for me, one big draw to VTubing was that at the time I had recently went through a divorce and I had started living on my own with my cat. And my cat at the time, because my character is a Nekomata, he had cancer and he didn't
Oh.
have very much longer to live. It seemed he only
Oh.
had, in reality, he only had a couple more years, but I thought he had less time.
Right.
And I was watching a few VTubers at the time, like Porcelain Maid and Giga, and listening to their stories. And I was watching other people and like how they were inspired to be VTubers. And a part of me had realized that I wanted to find a way to really immortalize my cat, and also in the separation of from my spouse at the time, it was very messy, and it was a way to kind of escape a bad situation,
Yeah.
not to focus on that or dunk on the person because that's not at all my focus.
Right.
But I was more like trying to reclaim my own identity,
Right.
and
Right.
also with the uh, benefit of a VTuber model, I can also hold on to some anonymity and protect myself from being cyber stalked
Right.
at the same time.
Yeah.
But which I will say ended up not working out very well a couple of years later.
Oop-
But
Oops.
but but the goal to kind of not just reimagine myself, but reclaim my identity and sense of self, and also immortalize my cat, his whose name was Sparta.
Mm.
Um, and like a part of like my identity as a VTuber model was very valuable to me. And in fact, in becoming like a Nekomata VTuber, when my cat was diagnosed with cancer, I found that he had a lump near the back of his tail,
Mm.
and somewhat near his tail. And I was getting back into anime at the time because I was finding like something very nerdy stuff to do with my fellow student scientists
Right. Yeah.
and
Of course.
friends. And I've learned about the yokai nekomatas, which is really when a cat gets so old. After a certain amount of time, their tail will split into two, and they will run away to the mountains to live on their own and live a very free life. And so when my cat was diagnosed with cancer, I went to him and says like, "You're just growing your second tail, buddy.
That's
You're
right.
you're just becoming a Nekomata." And so to just immortalize that, I decided to take on the persona of a Nekomata VTuber, and I've loved it ever since.
That is absolutely great. And I can certainly understand getting in a situation where you just want to establish yourself away from what is going on. It's this you in doing this. A lot of VTubers create an entirely new world. It's like a world building for themselves, where they can start over with themselves and reintroduce themselves to people, and reintroduce themselves to themselves sometimes, and and
Hmm.
then kind of go from there. And that sounds a lot like what you were doing, whether you put it in those words or not. It sounds
Yeah,
you want to have something that was away from everybody, that you had control of, and was you're doing, and everything, and you said, okay, we'll do it right here, right now.
yeah. Some people become climbers. Some people go into pottery. Some people really get into cars. For me, it was getting into a Catboy persona and acting like an anime character online. Uh, And the only embarrassing thing that I do now is that I get asked to nya nya for people and
Uh-huh.
meow from time to time, which is fine. It's funny, and I don't mind
Mm,
showing off. I've always kind of been very extroverted,
yeah.
and which has been very interesting to experience. Especially one thing I've learned in the VTuber community is that I'm just absolutely surrounded by very introverted people.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's almost like I'm the rare extrovert in the sea of introverts. And
Yeah.
so it's been interesting almost to meet these people and see them coming out of their shell at the same time.
It is. It is. And with that, we have gotten a chance to, and I fully tell everybody this, that I am greedy and I want to know what everybody's got. Well, what can you do that I can enjoy? I want to see everybody's gifts and what their talents are, and now more now than ever, we get a chance to see what people can do. I've interviewed some folks who are incredible singers, who do artwork online. That's nuts. I mean, really great stuff. Musicians, all sorts of things, and these are arts and talents that we wouldn't have gotten a chance to see 20 years ago. Um,
Hmm.
in
Exactly.
any form, and we wouldn't have been. I mean, we couldn't even call them on our flip phones to find out what was going on. But here you got a chance, coming from your background, to reestablish and start something anew, fresh, and and set that apart from everything, and kind of concentrate on a fresh start.
Yeah. And not just in part of just like regaining my identity, I've always believed, even when I was a teenager and trying to decide what I wanted to do in my life, because going into science was definitely not the first choice for me. Before then, I had thought I was going to go into specialty coffee and work all sorts of different cafes. I even helped build out different cafes, like a cat cafe. More funnily enough, I actually, following the theme of cats, I actually helped build out a cat cafe, which was a lot of fun, and I absolutely enjoyed it and got to spend so much time. Not only actually ended up on NPR at one point, just showing the training of not only the baristas,
Yeah.
but also how that worked with running a cafe and taking care of animals at the same time. Because usually you wouldn't want food and drink near cats, and
Right. Right.
cats especially who love milk.
Mhm.
Um, but it one reason why I went into streaming was knowing that, especially at the beginning of COVID, knowing that a lot of people were going back into more isolation
Right.
of not just themselves. People were using streaming and other online services to really meet people, to really kind of make a new safe place where people can meet. And it was a great boon for, as I mentioned, like introverts, but a lot of people who wouldn't normally be able to get out
Right.
into the world
Right.
to connect with people. And I realized that there were most likely a lot of men like me who were either down and out on their luck, had gone through divorce themselves, bad breakups, or one thing I really noticed throughout the whole process was how there was a major lack in men's mental health, and people being willing to be honest and open and have dialogues for discussing
Mhm.
men's mental health.
Oh
So
yeah, absolutely.
for me, even though I feel like there's so much more I could do to talk about the subject, like interviews like this, which I do appreciate,
Mhm.
you letting me stand on my soapbox a little bit
Go
and
go
talk
right
about
ahead.
this. But I really do believe that there could be more role models or people coming out that say like, "Hey, I'm a guy. I want to be creative. I also have a lot of emotions, and here I am playing different games. I'm willing to talk about stuff and wanting to make a space for people to come and share their side and grow and connect." And it's been a very interesting process
Mm.
of wanting to be vulnerable and open, and also talking about science and seeing like how I can be a supportive place for hopefully a healthy male role model and a healthy person that's willing to share their own health journey
Mm.
during that time. And it's been interesting because during this process, not only have been improving my mental health and have really become a person that I truly admire, I've always wanted to be. I've also had to come to terms with a lot of health conditions I didn't even know I had issues with,
Hmm.
and being open with that, and being open with my struggle with my chat about how my health has changed during this time,
Right.
and how that can encourage others.
Yeah. It's a great when you're able to do that, and you kind of get a uh, again. I keep looking for this word and I keep missing it. It's along the lines of justification, but it's more like um, validation from it.
Yeah,
Here, here I'm doing something that not only am I having fun at it, and other people are having fun, but I'm showing other people that you can do this too. I mean, you look at other
mhm,
VTubers, and everybody brings up Iron Mouse, of course, because I mean, she's
yes.
she's can't get out of her room for crying out loud, and she's got seven. She got the Earth and Mars is watching her every time she comes on. The
Yeah, and honestly, I have a very a secret dream of concerning Iron Mouse, because I watch her. I feel like as a YouTuber, I feel most people watch her,
Yeah.
but I paid attention to her struggles with her health, and what she shared about it. And part of me goes like, man, if there was a way that I, as a scientist, because my focus is in immunology and the disease and illness that she deals with is in the wheelhouse of immunology,
Oh
and
yeah.
with her immune system going, man, I would love to find a team of scientists or a group of scientists who are researching her specific disease, and go and be a part of that research group and actually work for them,
Hmm.
which, as I feel like we were discussing beforehand, in this day and age, it's been a little hard to
Oh
find
well.
work in science, which has led me to stream even more.
Yeah.
And it's been very interesting to kind of be almost the broadcasting center of being able to talk about, like, yeah, it's a little hard for people to find work, not just in general in
Right.
like restaurants or retail, but also in science. People have been struggling.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's and people can see which way the wind's blowing right now, and it's not exactly in the best direction for those who are among our best and brightest at the moment.
Mhm.
How, how'd you like that dancing around some terms? 35 years.
Exactly, yeah.
35 years in the business will teach you that. I
I admire the skill. I
did not.
truly do. I wish that sometimes I had more of that skill to be able to reference situations like that without really making it like the focus,
I
because
didn't
it's so
step on
easy to slide into it.
didn't step on a single landmine there. That was pretty
I
amazing.
know. I'm impressed.
Uh,
I'm following in your step, truly.
but really, it does it, and you couple that with kind of the general societal situation where there is such a lack of empathy in so many situations that it's people will refuse to put themselves in other people's shoes and try to figure out why they're doing things or why or what their struggle is. But folks are now on VTubing are bringing that to people, and people are kind of by osmosis figuring it out uh, this
It's
way. It,
You actually bring up a really good point. If I can expound upon that a little,
please.
uh, in my journey and desire to want to be open, it's been fascinating to see the pushback I've gotten in some ways, because as a man in this industry, one thing I've always admired was how watching like men and women stream together and kind of helping to bridge that divide between the genders, the sexes, to really communicate and be able to collaborate with each other.
Mm.
But there was this really interesting moment of a couple of moments where I've been interviewed and talked about wanting to be supportive of men's mental health and sharing part of like my mental health journey
Mm.
in that. And watching that interview back, I saw one comment in that in the interview, talking about like my own struggles. Someone commented about just having the lack of empathy and trying to bolster themselves or like their mental fortitude, and trying to go like, I don't have problems like that, look how much stronger I am. And I'm being very vague of like their
Yeah.
comment in general, but
Yeah.
it was interesting to see that in that moment they watched that and they didn't see a fellow human being honest about their struggles. They saw a stepping stone in which they can make themselves feel better. And even in the VTuber world, I feel like that's almost very common, especially if you sometimes are like me and doom scroll Twitter and see some of the VTuber drama.
Yeah.
It's very easy to see, and I feel like it's an easy trap for people to step into, that they see someone struggling or making a mistake or being vulnerable, and they use that as a launching platform to dunk on that person or to add a voice of not, I wouldn't say violence, but I would rather say like lack of empathy, but as a way to, what do they say, virtue signal
Yeah.
themselves to like, like
Yeah.
look how much better I am
Oh,
as opposed to this
absolutely. Yes.
person.
Yes.
And even in making some friends, there were moments where fellow male VTubers uh, had almost tried to talk about me behind my back and make me seem uh, like disingenuous instead of talking to me about any concern or such. And I've worked that out with those people, but it was
Yeah.
so interesting to see how the anonymity of the internet extends to the same mentality of being a VTuber, and it's almost like it's doubling down
Oh, yeah.
as of like I can not only be a catboy or dog person or whatever, I can also be a hero and go like, look how I'm trying to protect someone by like cutting off this person from one of my friends, and it always devolved down to them almost being intimidated or jealous of who I was because of a insecurity within themselves. And I've even had moments where I had conversations with these people where they came to me and apologized, saying that I'm so sorry for the trouble I've given you. And I was just insecure and I was jealous because you were getting closer to a friend of mine.
Mm.
And that made me feel bad because you were all these things that I wanted to be. And I couldn't help but like listen to them and thank them for their time and like telling me that, but also wanting dearly to know how to empower these people and realizing that in this day and age where people are lacking empathy, some of the best things that we can do for others is sticking to our guns and our morals
Mm.
and trying to help people where we can and not joining in on the echo chambers of negativity and almost excessive like cruelty when it comes to like seeing other people make mistakes, trying to be voices of reason and finding opportunities to inject maybe a supportive voice or a open ear
Mm.
to people who are struggling and just going like, hey, I'm here, I care, I see that you're working hard, I see that you care yourself even if you're struggling, and that I'm still moving forward myself with my own struggles. And if you ever need someone to like look to and go like, I can't give up because they're working hard,
Right.
even if it's for like these people who were jealous of me, even if it's just like an antagonist point of view of going like, I'm jealous of this person and what they have. It's been almost a unique experience to go like, just by me existing and working hard for myself, there are people who are intimidated or have their insecurities brought to light, and they, in that way, have an opportunity to choose: am I going to let this insecurity define me, or
Mm.
am I unhappy with this enough to change myself? And I feel like a lot of people uh, need an almost antagonistic motivation
Yeah.
to overcome and be an underdog hero. And I support it. And I just hope along the way that they have opportunities to choose empathy and kindness and be proud of themselves and not utilize other people as
Yeah.
stepping stones.
Yeah.
Because again, like if you're stepping on one person, other people will see that and not want to be around you, because what if they get stepped on too?
Yeah. Or they follow your footsteps and step on other people as well, and on you on the way up. Uh,
Exactly.
yeah. And the fact that that person came up to you later, that took some backbone on their part because that doesn't happen very often.
Exactly.
So I'm glad you recognize that in them because um, I did I did sports talk radio. Okay.
I'm sure the trash talking was a
uh,
way more intense. I'm
one
sure.
for a major college football team post game show that went 0-11, and that was one of the most painful years I ever had in radio. And there was just,
Oh.
I mean, there was nothing positive coming out of that. And the amount of vitriol was amazing. I mean, I, contributed some myself being a younger person and stupid.
Mhm.
But the fact is that anonymity, even in a call-in show, um, is a double-edged sword. You can you can be who you want online. However, you can also be who you really, really don't want online and not even realize it. Um,
Yeah.
that provides you that too and cover, but it also provides you too much cover. I've always tried to sign my own name to things online because I don't have a reason. I don't have I was ready. You can go find my picture stuff. I got stuff with it if you really want to find it. Um,
Hmm.
and that gives me that um, I mean it's on my shoulders. Whatever happens to it is out there, and I have to take responsibility for it. So with that little bit of anonymity, you can fudge around a little bit. Somebody hacked my account. Okay, that's the fifth time they've hacked that account. Okay, um, but it does give you that little extra energy um, to do the wrong thing on occasion. Um, but if you can use that as, if not empathy, then at least sympathy, for crying out loud, um, and create a good space for people to come and be comfortable and realize that they're not going to be attacked for simply being themselves or trying to be somebody. Um, that alone is worth the price of admission right there. I mean, it's an incredible thing to be able to do, and the fact that you've been able to do this, given everything that you've been going through, is pretty amazing.
Thank you. And I still feel like I'm in the thick of it because IRL, I actually got through in near the end of last year. I began a event for my streams called the Workathon,
Mm-hmm.
in which I've always been horrible. As you can tell, we talked about going into ASMR, that my chat basically had to bully me to do it.
Right.
But I was so bad at asking for money that when I wanted to do a subathon in which I was streaming Monday through Friday, I didn't even call it a subathon. And I said, there's no rewards or tiers. But maybe that's just like bad advertisement on my part, and I could use a marketing person. But I was saying like every 5 gift subs, like you can guarantee like a wheel spin. I still have some wheel spins to catch up on
Yeah.
from this, from
Yeah.
very generous people. Uh, Mainly because I was wanting them to like be around when I did it. I feel like the people should get what they pay
Oh,
for.
yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. They should be at least
um,
see what's going on. For crying out loud.
exactly. I value art so much, and people who, especially in VTubing, like where artists really are the backbone
Mm-hmm.
of VTubers, from artists to riggers to musicians to people who even make code for the overlays.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and especially in this day and age where people are struggling just all around the world to find like a consistent paycheck and ways to enjoy luxury items, which being a VTuber is to a degree a luxury.
Oh yeah.
I will admit that I used my some of my student loans to invest into my model when I thought that I was going to have more opportunity to work in science, but
Yeah. Yes.
um,
One of us with student loans. Yes.
exactly,
Yours is a lot more
always
than
it's like a
mine, I
rite of
imagine.
passage.
Yeah.
I paid $70, not $70, 70K in order to have the privilege to research cancer too a little. And I still don't regret it. And
Yeah.
I'm very, very proud of being able to do that.
Well,
Although I,
yeah, you
of
should.
course, have opinions.
You should be. I
Even
mean,
though I,
let's face it. I
thank
mean,
you.
you went in there and you did a lot of stuff that's going to help a lot of people, and that's
Yeah,
you can always look back on that. You've got some extra karma you can throw away if you'd like. You could probably take some candy for babies and you'd be fine.
yeah. And I think that's, especially in this day and age, it's harder to find routes of work that are encouraging of that. But during the workathon, to not get off track too much, my goal was to provide like a very like comfortable space like for co-working and not just gaming,
Mm-hmm.
where I was applying for scientific positions and research opportunities in order to find a way to get a job to not have to ask my viewers to have to support me financially in any way,
Right.
but to also give them like a space where I have ADHD, and I've only recently been diagnosed with ADHD last year,
Hmm.
and I was learning just how helpful it is to have a co-working space where people can tune in and watch someone in the background and have someone working alongside them. Because I realized when I was working at the time, before I like took a break after my graduation and working for a little bit in IT, uh, just how beneficial it was to have like a voice of someone just doing anything in the background. And I feel like a lot of YouTubers, like they talk about like lurkers are backbone
Right.
of your viewership, and that's very true.
Yeah.
But just how much people just appreciate a calm, consistent, or chaotic, a consistent presence.
Hmm.
And I learned a lot in like watching who would come and go like throughout the day. And I try to strain my best from when I wasn't doing like health stuff or
Yeah.
taking care of myself, and learning more about ADHD. I was working 9 to 5 on streams Monday through Friday, best
Yeah.
I could
Right.
to do that. And then this year happened. I decided to switch to a more intensive, like more going from a nebulous schedule to a more consistent schedule.
Hmm.
Still Monday through Friday, but having room to be able to meet with people like this after stream and be able to do ASMR on a couple days.
Yeah.
It's been a very interesting journey in switching uh, roles from that. But my goal has always been to find external work as a scientist to really invest in my hobbies like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
And
one day I'll let people be kind to me.
yeah. Well, yeah. But I mean, it's. I mean, I really do hope that something opens up here soon for not just you, but other people who are being affected by this. Because
Hmm.
I mean, let's face it, we're pedaling backwards when we should be pedaling forwards in a lot of instances. Um, and
Yeah.
it's and I just feel that 2 generations from now they're going to look back and say, what in the hell were you doing? And they'll be right. Um, but I'll still be around because I plan to stick around and just yell at clouds. Um, the you mentioned the ASMR stuff, and you kind of mentioned that along with having somebody in the background with. I mean,
Yes.
it's the same type of thing. I mean, it's having knowing that somebody is there, something is there in the background is soothing for so many people. People will have you on at work and have you on the headset, and listen to you while you work, or they'll find something else online. We now have all of that at our fingertips. Um, and I'm just wondering how we did things, 25 years ago.
Right. And
It's
it's an interesting purpose. Getting ahead of myself. It's an interesting thing because it, especially with how people would say saturated the market is.
mm,
Um, and being a male VTuber, one thing I've seen in discussions online when it comes to like male VTubers and trying to grow a viewership, uh, where of course avoiding the pitfalls where people go like, oh, it's so much easier to be a girl to be a streamer, which is just not true. You're
mm,
just not looking, you're looking at the wrong audience if you're
yeah,
focused on that to be your mark. Like girls have it easier, it's just like, don't look at their audience. That's not the audience you're going after. You have
right,
to find your own audience, and in
yeah,
that I feel like people are learning to challenge themselves and find out again what they're good at and what value they bring to others just inherently, which, as you pointed out, and what my community pointed out to me, because I've been open to it, has been my voice and going like, okay, people want to hear this. And so I recently got into ASMR, I guess, to really talk about more of my content. I'm sure this is what people would like to know in this interview. That I've to I
nah,
got into ASMR for my channel. And before this, I thought ASMR was more I would say maybe sensual. Like I've had more friends who did ASMR, like they did like uh vocal triggers, they'll say words, they'll scratch on their microphone and such. And I didn't understand too much about it until I was told really what all ASMR can be. And I realized that what the kind of ASMR I like to deliver is, besides just yapping someone's ear off, which I very easily can, is that one thing I really enjoyed was bedtime stories and
yeah,
how, especially in this day and age, where people I think don't have the capacity to like really read
mm,
as much or have the time to read or even the attention span to read in this
right,
very much TikTok style life of social media that we do have on multiple capacities from Facebook,
yeah,
Instagram, YouTube, and again TikTok.
yeah,
It's I've found a niche where that people like having a noise, having sound in the background can also get a little bit of story time at the end of their evenings on Tuesdays and Thursdays where I can read softly in the background, which having the voice on my level, it's very hard to whisper and do like a whisper ASMR.
Right.
So, uh,
You
so
got a naturally
I've been
projecting voice. It's
exactly. Even I've been told when I tried to whisper, someone had to hold my face to them and say, "Chris, you're very loud. Even when you whisper, like I could hear you from across
it'd
the
be
room."
like stage
And like, thank
whispering.
goodness,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's just the low tones, like those lower tone sound waves just carry more
Yeah.
when, and it's funny because even on the 3DO mic, there's this roll off, this bass roll off switch that you can turn on, and
Yeah.
I've researched that. It's just because the low frequencies can be just so inherently powerful and
Oh,
loud, and
oh
that's
yeah.
been very interesting
Yeah.
to learn. But I've enjoyed like soft spoken bedtime stories is what I do as an
Mm.
ASMR artist, and also I like to take my microphone out into nature and go and record. I'm blessed enough to be able to live near a beach, and I've been going to waterfronts and on the weekends when I have time to get myself outside, of course, to touch grass to
Yeah.
keep my sanity,
Yeah.
uh, to record like nature sounds and bird sounds and beach sounds, like crashing waves, which is my favorite sound to play right now for
Mm.
my ASMR streams, and have that recorded. Right now, I have this really nice hour loop that I like to play just to have a very nice water crashing background noise in the background for me to do ASMR while people listen. And it's a good way that I found to relax people. Although I will say I have nearly fallen asleep to myself and the sound, and I've had to like jostle myself back awake.
That means you're really good at it.
I know. I was listening back to a recording. I made a video recently where for Valentine's actually, as somewhat of a joke, a last minute joke because I thought it'd be kind of funny, where it's your best friend. Uh, you strike out with that cutie at the office, so your best friend takes you out
Yeah.
for Valentine's and it comforts you.
Yeah.
And I was listening back to it, and I honestly I passed out like during it. I was just like, oh my goodness, this is powerful stuff. I've never before this. I never enjoyed my voice,
Yeah.
so it was very interesting to see just like or hear more just the soothing effects. I'm like, oh, I might be onto something here.
Well, now you know why the dealer never dips into his own stash.
Honestly, and like I mean, I never thought I would have to worry about that because as my time as a barista, I would drink my own stash of coffee all the time. But
Yeah.
oh goodness, I never became like a bartender or such. I feel like there'd be a problem.
Oh, yeah. What's a shame is we've gone 40 minutes and there's still much to talk with you about. So I hope you come back. Um,
Oh, I'd love to.
because we got a lot more to hash out here. Um, folks, check out what Kris has got going on. We're going to have all the links in the description for this video, and you've heard him. I mean, you know the type of person he is a little bit from what we've talked about and what he's about. I couldn't recommend more. Checking out the person, finding out what they're up to and what they're all about, and hopefully you'll enjoy yourself as much as I've enjoyed myself talking with Kris here today. We will have to have you on again, my friend, very soon.
I would love that. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.